All righty, good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? Good. How's everybody else? I'm stalling for time. That's my excuse today. All right. A spattering of applause. Good morning, everybody. I'm Reverend Michael Everett Davis. Welcome to Unity of Indianapolis. Please join me in affirming our statement of truth. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God the good, omnipotent. Surely the presence of love is in this place. I can feel God's mighty power and the grace. I can hear the brush of angel wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of love is in this place. Surely the presence of love is in this place, and in all places, and in all people. Knowing and accepting this, we bless all people, no matter their race, color, creed, abilities, gender identification, or expression of love. Knowing that there are many paths to God, many names for God, many faces of God, but only one God. And this God is expressing through all creation in many, many ways. We come here together today, whether in person or on Facebook Live, to experience and express the Christ Spirit that dwells within each of us. And now it is time for today's daily word. That's me. All right. Sunday, July 11th. I know the truth of each dear one I hold in prayer. Am I on now?
Your mic's not on.
Talking. There it is. It's on. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Check. Mike, okay. Mike Ferns can hear me, so here we go. I'll talk loudly. Sunday, July 11th, 2021. Pray for others. I know the truth of each dear one I hold in prayer. What an honor it is to hold others in prayer. I am grateful for the sacred trust and use it to see beyond appearances, knowing they are temporary conditions. I focus on the unchangeable truth that each one for whom I pray is a divine being, a living expression of God. As I pray for others, I envision divine peace, calming thoughts, and strengthening faith. I see healing leading to the realization of wholeness. I pray divine love and wisdom create harmony in relationships, guiding every decision. I affirm divine order is established in every area of my life. I claim for them the zeal to complete everything that needs to be done. I then give thanks, grateful to bless others with the gift of prayer. And from Matthew 18:19, again, truly I tell you, if two of you agree on earth about anything you ask, it will be done for you by my Father in heaven. So it is. And now for our monthly affirmation, which I will read to you once, and then we'll read it together. With spiritual understanding, I know everything is unfolding for my highest good. Let's say that together. With spiritual understanding, I know everything is unfolding for my highest good. Let's say that again. With spiritual understanding, I know everything is unfolding for my highest good. And as a prayer, bring it within. With spiritual understanding, I know everything is unfolding for my highest good. And to make a physical presence within us, let's take your pointer finger, put it on your forehead. This is the energy center for understanding. With spiritual understanding, I know everything is unfolding for my highest good. Now let us prepare for an opening meditation and prayer with Michael Wrights. If you would use your microphone.
Good morning and welcome. This is Sunday, July 11th, a day that we come together in gratitude for the spirit of the community that we are. Now's the time that we come apart from the busyness of the world to acknowledge our divine creation and to understand our presence on the face of this planet is to make a difference and to hold the vision of Mother, Father, Creator, God for a world that lives in harmony, in peace and prosperity. So as you breathe in the breath of God, allow it to relax your body. Feel it soothing any discomfort, chasing away any distraction, and draw yourself into your personal sanctuary. And feel this connection and warmth of the love and light that surrounds you. Let us allow ourselves to find our power in this very moment. We know that yesterday is past and tomorrow is not yet here. There is only this moment, and it is filled with promise and potential and waits ready for each one of us to live into this knowing fully. As we connect with our divineness, we realize that we have many divine gifts and everything that we need to step into today is within us. There's no need for us to wait for the perfect moment to arrive, because there is no time more perfect than now, and no place more perfect than here to be that Christ-like expression. We understand in this knowing that procrastination has no place in our lives. We refuse to fritter away our energy and in not finding reasons to not get started. We have no desire to lose our zeal and focus or invite frustration into our lives. Today, let us claim the power of the present and say, "This is the day I began." Now is the time to begin, to serve, to forgive, to create, and to love. Let us know this for the next few moments. It is the time to begin, to serve, to forgive, to create, and to love. Yes, sweet Spirit, in this moment, we are grateful for all things. We've awakened this morning, grateful for the gift of a new day and the infinite possibilities that lie before us. Individually and together, we acknowledge our blessings, and that fills us with vitality and enthusiasm for all the good that there is in our lives. Simply resting in gratitude for a few moments lifts our spirits and reminds us that wherever we are, God is. We are a unique expression of the divine and called to demonstrate the fullness of who we are. Nobody else can do this for us. We are a divine expression. And we look into this day to see the beauty in our lives and in our relationships. And for this sweet Spirit, we are grateful. So very grateful. Thank you, God. Amen and namaste.
Thanks, Michael. Alrighty. Let's stand up. You took way up high. You took way out. Give yourself a hug. Yay! Now turn around and wave at everybody. Say good morning. Good morning. Good morning, good morning. All right. Now have a seat. And talk.
Oh, well then, I'll tell him to get back up.
Oh, yeah. I was like, we need exercise.
There's a reason Michael just had you do that stretch. Other than loving yourself, but you also want to love your neighbor as well, because we all look at each other and remember that we are one and we depend on each other. And so I'm going to say this, that I need you. I need you to survive, and you need me to survive as well. So we're going to sing this song together. Okay. Oh, I need you. You need me. We're all a part of God's body. Stand with me. Agree with me. We're all a part of God's body. It is God's will that every need be supplied. You are important to me. I need you to survive. You are important to me. I need you to survive. I'm going to sing it one more time. Just listen to these words. I need you. You need me. We're all a part of God's body. Stand with me. Agree with me. We're all a part of God's body. It is God's will that every need be supplied. You are important to me. I need you to survive. You are important to me. I need you to survive. All right, we're going to sing this together. Join me, praise team. I need you.
I need you.
You need me.
You need me.
We're all a part.
We're all a part of God's body.
Stand with
Stand
me.
with me.
Agree with me.
Agree with me.
We're all a part.
We're all a part.
Oh, it's in God's will.
It is God's will
That every need be supplied. You are important.
are important to me. I need you to survive.
You are important.
You
You're important to me. I need you to survive. All right, I'm going to do another verse. Listen to these words. I pray for you. You pray for me. I love you. I need you to survive. I won't harm you with words from my mouth. I love you. I need you to survive. I'm gonna sing it one more time. I pray for you. You pray for me. I love you. I need you to survive. I won't harm you with words from my mouth. I love you. I need you to join me now. Survive. I pray for you. You all stand up and sing this with us now. For me, sing it to your neighbor. I love you. I need you to survive. I won't harm you with words from my mouth. I love you. I need you to survive. I pray for you.
I pray for you.
You pray for me.
You pray for me.
I love you.
I love you.
I need you to survive. I won't harm you with words from my mouth. I love you. I need you to survive. I pray for you. You pray for me.
I love you.
I love you.
I need
Oh,
you to survive. I won't harm you with words from my mouth. I love you. I need you to.
I'm gonna take it up. Take it up.
survive.
I pray for Sing it like you mean it.
You pray for me. I love you. I need you to survive. I won't harm you with words from my mouth. I love you. I need you to survive. I pray for you. You pray for me. I love you. I need you to survive. I won't harm you with words from my mouth. I love you. I need you to survive. I pray for you. You pray for me. I love you. I need you to survive. I won't harm you with words from my mouth. I love you. I need
We're gonna take it down. Take it down.
to survive.
It is God's will that every need be supplied. You are important to me. I need you to survive. Oh, 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 oh. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Ooh, thank you, Thomas. I have a suspicion that everybody would have been on their feet even if you had not asked them to stand, because that was beautiful. Ooh. I get to juggle a microphone in hand again. It's been a while since I did this. Good morning, everybody. How is everyone this morning? Excellent. I also feel like, well, after the meditation, the daily word, and that beautiful song, I don't really need to say anything more. I think it's all been encapsulated, and yet I'm going to speak. So, I don't know how many people in this room are like news hounds, news junkies, how many people are constantly watching or listening to the news. But I know many people in here at least keep up on local news. And if your reaction has been anything like mine recently, at least anecdotally, I feel like I am getting so many more accounts of completely unnecessary violence, of gun violence, gun deaths, murders, road rage, all of this pent up anger, anxiety, things that are working their way out and into the surface publicly. Anybody else experiencing some of that? Okay, about half of you have been, okay. So it's not just me, that's always reassuring. There's all of this that seems to be going on under the surface. All of this, whatever stress it is. And obviously we're coming out of a pandemic that's been going on for such a long time, and so many people have lost so much. So we can understand some of that stress, and yet that lashing out doesn't always make sense to me. I have a hard time wrapping my spiritual understanding around it sometimes, because that's not the kind of people that I normally hang out with, right? The people in this room would not act out that way. The family I grew up with would not act out that way. Or so I think. It's hard for me to understand. And because it's hard to understand from my perspective, sometimes there's a tendency, there's a desire to want to sort of other people, right? The people who would do that, they're different from my friends. They're different from my family. And I always take it as a really strong reminder anytime my ego wants to see anybody else as other, as separate from me. That's a big red flag, because nobody is. Nobody is separate. Nobody is other. So I have to find ways to deal with my ego and my subconscious and get back in control of that understanding. I want to share a couple of stories about people who have sought understanding on some level. The first one is from Ken Cruz. Ken is a retired Episcopal priest, and he's also a church consultant, and he mentors pastors. So this is his story. Sometimes you know something, but don't really understand it. And sometimes you understand, but don't really know. Our 3 daughters have always expected that one of their Christmas presents would be something given to a child who needed more than they did. Every year we would take tags off of a community angel tree and go shopping. Sometimes the request was for a nice shirt or other clothes, but most of the time it was a special CD or a toy, and we all got great joy imagining how happy the child would be that their special request was fulfilled. A couple of years ago, we began taking tags from a tree organized by a local elementary school. This year, I grabbed 4 from the back of the tree and hurried out the door without even glancing at them. When we began shopping for the presents, I found myself extremely sad rather than joyful. The requests from two were simply for nice underwear. Another was for a coat, and the fourth for a couple of shirts. Now, I appreciate that the school staff probably helped put together the wish list, and I appreciate that the staff would have noticed that a child did not have a coat, or a child wore the same two shirts all the time. But to consider that the child told the staff member that what they wanted most for Christmas was good underwear, how sad. How very sad. As I said at the beginning, I knew such circumstances existed, but I guess I never really understood until it was framed into a Christmas request. Now, I may understand, but I don't really know. I understand the need, but I don't really know what it feels like to be in those circumstances. I don't really know how that would affect the potential for my learning, and thereby my potential to grow out of that situation. I don't know what it feels like to be a loving, caring, dedicated school staff member trying to teach reading while knowing the child needs a coat or underwear. The most depressing thing I do not know is how to make all of this better. Sure, we helped 4 children. Big deal. Easy for us to do. But there are thousands and thousands of children in the same situation. I know that, but I do not understand. But at least he's trying. Another story comes from Mark Cassidy. My apologies, these are both men's stories. That was not intentional. But Mark Cassidy is an executive director of Triad Health Project. Mark's story is this. To my benefit, and more to my shame, I pretended for a day to walk in someone else's shoes. I volunteered for an immersion experience in Asheville and left the cozy confines of my hotel room to join the homeless being fed in a downtown mission. I took my ID out of my wallet, which was itself surprisingly unnerving. Then I wondered why I needed a wallet at all. So I put that next to the remote that controlled over 200 channels. Leaving the room, I felt next to naked. I had nothing to show that I was okay, that I could not identify myself as harmless. I noticed my shiny "Do Not Disturb" placard on the doorknob. The only thing in my pocket was a 5-pack of juicy fruit. I was trying to quit smoking. Before we could eat, we had to hear a sermon, and I realized the most coveted spot was behind the last pew where you could lie down and even sleep. Right? I see you back there. The preacher called us them. But I could tell he was sincere in what he was trying to do. He talked to God about us. At supper, I traded my chicken for another man's rice, and I wondered how maybe being vegetarian is itself a privileged status. If I was starving, I'd eat a chicken right up. I was not mistreated, almost worse. I was invisible. I was a process. Preach, feed, move on. I felt shame in 100 ways, and I felt very lonely. I thought about how I'm only pretending. And I asked a couple of people if they ever saw my cousin, Richard, who used to frequent these places before he killed himself. He was so tall and blonde, it would be impossible to miss him. Nobody had seen him. I gave away 4 pieces of juicy fruit and kept the first one for myself, and people were appreciative. Back at the hotel, I found my identification, plus over 200 channels for my viewing pleasure, and the flavor of the gum was long gone, so I spat it into the wastebasket that the maid would remove in the morning. For me, these stories and so many like them are very moving. I appreciate any effort to try to understand others rather than judge them. He literally used the phrase, to walk in another's shoes, which was the inspirational phrase for today's talk. because it can be so easy for us to judge. That line, the phrase, don't judge a man until you've walked a mile in his shoes, or a mile in his moccasins, is how it was introduced to me in my very early childhood in elementary school. It was presented as a Native American saying. And indeed, it has over the years been attributed to many Native American tribes. However, in reality, the source of it appears to be an 1895 poem. The author was Mary T. Lathrop, and the poem is called Judge Softly. I'm going to read just like 3 stanzas of it. It's a lengthy poem, but these 3 stanzas will give you a good idea of what this poem actually is about. Pray, don't find fault with the man that limps or stumbles along the road, unless you have worn the moccasins he wears, or stumbled beneath the same load. There may be tears in his soles that hurt, though hidden away from view. The burden he bears, placed on your back, may cause you to stumble too. Don't sneer at the man who is down today, unless you have felt the same blow that caused his fall, or felt the shame that only the fallen know. So over 100 years ago, people were trying to remind each other, hey, stop judging. We're kind of wired to judge. That's our subconscious, and sometimes even our conscious mind, but our subconscious really likes to categorize, right? It gives us shorthand. You see this person, you get this visual information or one brief exchange, and suddenly we've put them into a category. And while that can be useful for mental shorthand, it's rarely ever accurate. And it can be harmful to how we actually see and interact with others. And then when we find ourselves starting to label them as good or bad or right or wrong, then that in and of itself becomes this misapplication of our own spiritual gift of discernment. It is not our place to discern if somebody is bad or good. Sure, we can look at their actions, but they are another person just like you. And I mentioned that this has been going on for a long time. You know, over 100 years ago, that poem was written. Well, nearly a couple thousand years ago, from Matthew chapter 7, verses 1 through 5. This will be familiar to many of you. Do not judge, so that you may not be judged. For with the judgment you make, you will be judged, and the measure you give will be the measure you get. Why do you see the speck in your neighbor's eye, but do not notice the log in your own eye? Or how can you say to your neighbor, let me take the speck out of your eye, while the log is still in your eye? You hypocrite, first take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your neighbor's eye. So judgment and hypocrisy from some 2,000 years ago, and still we are working on it to this day. Of course, we keep getting new people, right? So as each of us strives and improves, new generations come along and they have to find the same lessons. They have to learn this and they have to get that empathy. Empathy is such a wonderful tool. It's not always easy. I know unity tends to attract a lot of empathic people, and I'm just curious for my own sake, and you can type in from Facebook Live as well, but how many people in the room feel like I'm a natural empath, like I just pick up on those emotions, right? Yes, exactly. Some of those hands I expected, some I did not know. And that gift is a wonderful gift. It also comes with some burdens, because sometimes you start carrying around these negative feelings and you don't know where they came from, and you realize, oh, it's because I picked them up from these other people. So for natural empaths, you have to learn to separate yourself from some of those negative feelings. For those of you that didn't raise your hand, it's a slightly different struggle. If you don't naturally pick up on those feelings, you have to find ways to then understand them. I say have to like it's a command, but I believe it is. I think that's part of our job, is to try to understand people so that we can help them. That's part of why we're in this world, to make the world a better place through our actions, through our helping of others. We are here to be and to serve, and we can't serve well without understanding. So how do we get there? Well, the two stories that I led in with are people trying to get there. They're trying to understand people better, right? They're working at it. And work is what we have to do, no matter what side of that, if you're naturally empathic or not. We have to work at our perceptions of people. There is sometimes a tendency to look at our opinions and think of our opinions as this sacred right that I have. I have a right to my opinion, right? We say that a lot in this country. I have a right to my opinion. Yes, you do. Of course you do. But the unexamined opinion is not worth having. If you have an opinion and you only hold it because it's your opinion and it was maybe your first impression or just a gut reaction, not to say gut reactions don't have a place, they do. But if you don't examine that opinion, you're doing a great disservice to yourself and to the world. We have to be able to examine those things. I talked about doing the work. I want to literally now talk about the work. For those of you that are familiar, we've talked many times over the past few years about Byron Katie's The Work. If you are not familiar, Byron Katie has developed a program called The Work, which is intended to have us go back and review the things that we believe and why we believe them and ask questions about those things and really evaluate how we got there and is it all true. And Byron Katie, being a wonderful human being herself, has available online a worksheet. You can go download a worksheet for when you're feeling like I'm having trouble with a person and I want to work through this. And it is called the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet. To be clear, it is not a worksheet on how to judge your neighbor, just in case you're wondering. It is not. It is a worksheet on when you are feeling like I'm sitting in judgment and I don't like that. I don't want to be sitting in judgment of somebody. How do I help my ego get beyond that? And why do we do that? Because, as I talked about with our subconscious, and we've talked about this concept before too, the subconscious is like that great elephant, right? And it's going to do what it's going to do. And we are that rider, that driver of the elephant, trying to make it turn. But that subconscious has so much power behind it that it can be very difficult. We have to be very mindful about it and understand that it's going to take some time to work through getting that elephant to turn. So that is why we do the work. Speaking of opinions, there's a quote that has resurfaced many times over the years for me, bless you, or at least the last few years. But it resurfaced multiple times this week, so I thought, oh, apparently this is supposed to be in the talk. It's from Bill Bullard, and the quote is, "Opinion is really the lowest form of human knowledge. It requires no accountability, no understanding. The highest form of knowledge is empathy, for it requires us to suspend our egos and live in another's world. It requires profound purpose, larger than the self kind of understanding." Like Michael's talk last week with the iceberg principle. That principle, if you recall, if you were here last week, if you weren't, here's a brief summary. The iceberg, of course, only 10% of that is above the water. That's what we see. So that iceberg, that's the event. But it was up to us to examine the things beneath that water, to look at the patterns of behavior that led to that event, to look at all the underlying structures that led to those patterns of behavior, and then to look at the mindsets that led to those structures. So it's up to us to back away and examine, and it's the same when we are dealing with any other people and trying to look at understanding where they're coming from. So Byron Katie's worksheet has questions that we are supposed to turn into statements, things like who angers or confuses or distresses you, and how or why. So you would turn it into a statement. Give me a name of somebody that is completely not objectionable. This is a lovely person. They would never do anything wrong to you. Who is that? Just a first name. Karen? Karen, all right. So Karen, lovely human. We're not trying to start anything here. But Karen did what terrible thing? What horrible thing did Karen do that now has hurt me or distressed me? Oh, didn't she? Karen wore the wrong color, right? We had all agreed on one color that we were going to wear. It was going to be red. And Karen, she came in wearing green. This is not Christmas. We didn't want red and green combo. So Karen wore the wrong color, and that bothered me because we had an agreement, and it seemed disrespectful to our agreement and disconcerted with the entire group, right? So you create that statement. And there are other things too, like how would you want them to change, or what advice would you give for you to be happy? What do they need to do? All of these other questions that you turn into statements. So if I have that statement of Karen wore the wrong color, which distressed me because that was against our agreement, then we go into the actual questions of doing the work. Question number 1, is it true? It's like, well, I know she wore green. That I do know. I saw it. I'm not colorblind. I know what color she wore. So I would say, yes, it's true. But next question, can you absolutely know it's true? It's like, well, okay, let me step back from that. I know she wore green. Do I know for a fact she was aware of the understanding? Can I be certain that she knew that? I don't know that I can. I wasn't the one that told her. Other people told everybody, so maybe not. The next question, how do I react, or what happens when I believe the thought? Like, what am I feeling, and what am I bringing to the table there? And question number 4, who or what would you be without this thought? So if I'm not thinking, if I let go of the thought that Karen wore the wrong color, then it's like I'm probably a happier person, right? So it forces us to examine these things. There's a final step, though, and it's not one of those questions. The final step is to turn the thought around. And there are lots of ways to do this. One way to turn it around would just be, Karen did wear the right color, right? Or we wore the wrong color is another way. Or there was no agreement about a color. These are all ways to turn that thought around. But in this step of doing the work, I really want us to consider, I want to challenge us to, instead of just turning it around intellectually, turn it around from their point of view. What are they seeing? How do they see you in that situation? Hold a mirror up to yourself in that moment to turn it around. So when Karen showed up in her green and the rest of us are in red, she may have felt left out. Maybe she didn't get the message. She may have felt judged, right? All of these things that from her point of view may have been very different than what I saw in that moment. But unless I'm willing to take that step back and turn it around, I may never get there, and I will just continue to fume over her not honoring that agreement. So, do we feel like we can do that? Can we take those moments? Can we ask ourselves some of those questions? Can we turn it around and look at it from the other person's point of view when we're feeling vexed or confused or frustrated by somebody? Can we? I'm getting a few nods. I got a couple of yeses. Some of you are probably thinking, well, I can with these people, but I'm not so sure about this one. So can I ask you, will you at least try this week when you are vexed or or bothered by somebody as a problem? Will you at least try to turn that around and see that from their vantage point this week? Okay. All right. So, and I know it's tough. It is tough to set aside our egos. We have to do that, though, to make room for that spiritual understanding. Our affirmation for this month is all about how spiritual understanding reveals to us all these things of how this is unfolding for us. And if we're not willing to get our ego out of the way, we may never see that. And if only we can do that as a society. We have to start as individuals, but if we collectively can start being that example in the world, and we can start letting the society around us see that example, can you imagine how powerful that can be? When you see somebody who, rather than getting upset with someone, even when it appears to be a direct violation of an agreement or whatever, if instead they say, well, from their vantage point, that probably is a much worse situation, right? Be that example out in the world. We sang earlier, Weave. It's a song that we have sung for generations in this church. It's a beautiful song. We are united. It's a more recent song, but we are united, right? I behold the Christ in you. We sing these things. We say these things. We have to mean these things. And in fact, well, and namaste. Michael usually has a namaste at the end of his meditation, which is, the light in me, or the divine in me sees the light in you. I myself have started trying to challenge myself one step beyond that for me, because I'll tell you again what my ego does. When my ego says, I behold the Christ in you, somehow my ego still says, oh, it's in you. It's a little part of you, but that's not like the Christ, right? It's a part. I see it in you. I've been working at, instead, I behold the Christ as you. All of you. Your entire being is the Christ. That my ego doesn't have a good argument for that, right? It's not just a little piece of you. It is you. I behold the light as you. The divine in me beholds the divine as you. You are the divine showing up in this world, as is everyone else. Even those that trouble you are the divine showing up in this world. So we have to remember that when we are at our most challenged. Remember that, and remember to pray for each other. We need each other to survive. And whichever way you choose to interpret that phrase, both are accurate. I need you for me to survive. And I personally need for you to survive. I need you to survive. I want to close with a quote from Myrtle Fillmore, and then we'll go into a very brief meditation. Myrtle Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, said, "Unity of spirit conquers the world for the Lord. We are sending forth peace to every land. Nations will forget to fight if we continue to know that all people express the one life." All right, and let us prepare for a brief meditation. So if you are comfortable doing so, close your eyes, feet on the floor, hands in your lap, palms up. Take a nice deep breath in through your nose, let it out through your mouth. On your next deep breath, I want you to really focus into your heart center, to breathe in and out for a couple of nice deep breaths. And then I want you to turn your focus up to that third eye area, the front of your brain, that center of understanding. Deep breath in and out, focused on that area. And I'm going to do a brief meditation from a daily word from 2016, when the word was empathy. So if it feels right to you, allow these words to be your words. I turn within through prayer to connect with the wisdom of God, releasing any assumptions or expectations. I open my heart and mind to fully hear and understand what another is feeling. Compassion is the natural extension of my love, so my experiences do not have to mirror another's in order for me to feel sympathetic. I simply open my heart and hold sacred space. I unite with my family and friends on a level of empathy and understanding. Divine wisdom guides my words, my actions, my very being. Rest in that truth as we go into the silence. Psalm 49:3 says, "My mouth shall speak wisdom. The meditation of my heart shall be understanding." So pray don't find fault with a man that limps or stumbles along the road, unless you have worn the moccasins he wears or stumbled beneath the same load. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you, Ed. Another blessing, right? We're just blessed every Sunday. Before we prepare for our love offering, I would like for you to join me in embracing the family of Sean Somerville, who transitioned this past week. He was a loving member of our community, always ready to serve, and has given a lot to us as a member of our church. And so let's embrace his family and friends in love and light, and see him moving from his giving, loving presence on Gossamer Wings into the warmth and love of the people that have already transitioned on the other side, receiving him. God bless Sean. Godspeed, Sean.
Amen.
So it's now time to prepare for our love offering. I invite you to go to our website, unityofindy.org, and donate online, or mail a check to Unity of Indianapolis at 907 North Delaware, 46202. And as you prepare your offering, we'd like to acknowledge any first-timers. If you're joining us for the first time, we're glad you're here. And if you're joining us for the first time on Facebook, we hope that you were blessed today. Type in your name, let us know you were here, and we invite you to join us again. So now please take your offering in your hand or visualize your gift. And I invite you to hold your offering in heart-centered intention as we together affirm the blessing over our offering. Together, divine love working through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, all that I receive, and I am grateful. Thank you.
I just want to say, Leisha and her mom, Evelyn, watch on Facebook Live every Sunday, and Leisha always posts, it's like, hello, good morning from Mom and me. But it's Evelyn's 83rd birthday today, so
Happy birthday.
so happy birthday. Alrighty, looking forward to seeing you in person. All right, let's stand up. We're gonna sing the peace song. Hold hands if you want. There's sanitizer in the back. Right. Here we go. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator. Walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let us pray together the prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. I behold the Christ in you. I see the light inside of you. I embrace this life with you, 'cause we are one. We are one. We are one. I behold the Christ Have a great week, everybody.